Assalamu alaikum and welcome to another episode of I Mean Business. Now today I've got a very exciting show for you. Why is it so exciting? Because we're going to cover a very important topic. A topic that deals with starting up your business. The topic today is all about market research. Now how many times have you heard market research from business advisors? And I brought in a fantastic business advisor. He's been on the show before and he's with me today. It's none other than Richard Green. Thanks for joining us again. And I've also brought in a friend, a good friend and a businessman, Qutb Mullah, as well on the show. So just give us a bit of summary about yourself, Richard. I know you've been here before, but just for the unfortunate viewers that haven't seen you before, just give them a bit of summary.
Thank you, Sammy. I'm a business advisor. I've been doing business advice, I suppose, for about 20 years in one shape or another. I'm currently working with pre-start businesses. I have worked with businesses that have been trading for some while, but currently the demand and the client base is pre-start businesses. And I see a complete range of business activities and skills, expertise, enthusiasm, etc. in the clients that I work with, who I enjoy very much working with.
Oh, that's fantastic. Now, Qutb, tell us about yourself.
Yeah, I've actually got a financial services background. I've been an investment banker for a number of years. But over the last couple of years, I identified an opportunity in textile exports and general international trade. So I set up my own venture, Cube Enterprises. And we've been primarily focused on textile exports from the emerging markets to the more developed economies. But at the same time, a company is also looking at international trade opportunities within rice exports, oil exports, canola oil, and various other products. But the company also has a focus on sports marketing.
Right.
So, and I myself have been a sports journalist for a number of years as well.
Okay, excellent. So today you're going to help us a bit with
Absolutely.
Sharing some of your experience, the importance of market
Absolutely.
research.
Well, where I stand today has been heavily dependent, and my success has been heavily dependent on strategic, analytic market research.
Right.
I mean, the importance of the word can simply not be estimated so easily. Market research, correct, specific market research is absolutely essential for the success of any business at any level.
All right, that's fantastic. So we'll get back to you later, Qutb. Now, Richard, what is market research all about? Why do we need to do market research in the first place? Yeah.
Well, I suppose I would draw a comparison and say if you were travelling from A to B and you came across a river that was in front of you and you want to get to the other bank, would you just jump in and swim and hope that you manage the other side? Or would you step back and ask yourself some questions like how deep is the water, how cold is the water, how fast flowing is the water? And in terms of a business and starting a business, market research is exactly the same thing. Okay. And you'd be foolish to just jump in without doing your research first. You might be successful, but you could find that it's extremely painful and it could result in big losses. Not perhaps necessarily as you would if you were swimming a river. Right. So it is vitally important. It basically will tell you whether or not your customers think that they would like to buy your product or service. It allows you to put together some figures to forecast what your income and expenditure is likely to be, and also equally important, when those monies are likely to be going out, and in terms of sales, income coming in. And therefore, do you have a potentially viable business? So very, very, very important.
Right, so what sort of factors do we need to look at when we're doing a market research? Someone's thinking of starting a business. What should they do? Where should they start? How should they start?
Well, there are two strands basically, primary and secondary research. And I'll focus on secondary for a start. Secondary basically is going to places like the British Library or City Business Library if you're London based, or alternatively if you're not London based, going to your local reference libraries. And going into the resources they have there and finding out as much as you can about the industry that you're going to be operating in and the particular expectations, shall we say, that there are for that particular industry. There's all sorts of market research that's been done and is available through those sort of resources. You also can pick up interesting trends and guidance, shall we say, from the likes of television programs like this one perhaps, radio stations, newspapers, magazines, and it goes on. Additionally, if you are focusing in a particular area, going through something like the government statistics sites, and one that immediately comes to my mind is neighbourhood.statistics.gov.uk.
Right.
That will provide you with all sorts of useful information right the way down to an electoral ward or postcode basis, and give you comparative figures within the borough
Really?
within the UK.
And is that free?
And that's free.
Wow.
That's free. So
That
that's
could be very useful.
Yes,
Yeah.
neighbourhood.statistics.gov.uk. So that's the sort of secondary research.
And picking up on what Richard said, it's, for small businesses specifically, you know, it's most essential that they make use of the resources that are available. But a lot depends on the specific circumstances of that particular business, because when you're a small business, you know, you don't have that much capital going into the market. So you've got to make the best use of the resources available, which are free. But again, these are the broader things that you'll be looking at. Every business is unique in its own way. So either if you're going into a market where you're the first entrant, then again, you know, you'll be exempling a lot of new things. Whereas if others have gone into that market before, then you have to specifically look at their experiences. If worked out, why did it work out for your competitors? If it did not work out, why did it not work out for them, you know? And you've got to make the most of how others have felt in that market.
Yeah. Now, you was involved in initial public offering, isn't it? IPOs,
Yes.
floating companies on the market and stuff back in Pakistan.
Yes, absolutely. I actually had the good fortune of working for AKD Securities. The proprietor, Mr. Akil Karim Dari, is one of the most successful entrepreneurs in Pakistan.
Right.
And I had the good fortune of working with him, for him. And again, when you're going for a listing, now it's essential to know that when you're dealing with small companies, big companies, you can gauge how the ambition of the entrepreneur or the proprietor by where he wants to take the company to. And if you've got a young company coming up to you who want to go to the level where they can get listed, it shows the enthusiasm they have. But again, to go up to that level, you need a lot of market research. Yeah? Because you need to know that over that period of time, say 5 years, yeah, because that's what companies look at. You know, you need about a 5-year period to get up to that stage where you can get listed, you can go for an IPO. You need essential market research because you need to know how much revenue you will generate to come up to that level. Because once you go for listings, there's a lot of regulations. The FSA, the Financial Service Authorities, has a lot of regulations that you have to deal with. Whereas when you're a small startup, you don't have to deal with those regulations. So it's essential that you get into the research, you build your company up to that level.
Right.
Because
So
the IPOs don't happen overnight.
That's right.
No.
So we're starting from zero, startups,
Yes.
and then working all the way.
It's important
to
for
floating a
small
company.
businesses under the current economic scenario,
Yeah.
the recessionary scenario, that you take it step by step. Cost effectiveness is very important. How to cut out the cost, yeah? Because your margins are probably going to be very small initially, if there are any, yeah? But how do you cut out those margins? Again, you go down to the basics, as Richard said, yeah? You get down to doing your market research, you know the cost, where it's going to cost you, and how you're going to cut down that cost. Yeah, once you cut down the cost, you're obviously creating a margin for yourself. And that's the scenario you need to create.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll get back to Richard on identifying the market. So you talked about primary, and you was going to mention a bit secondary.
Secondary I've talked about. Now, primary is basically where you're talking to your target customer.
Right.
And that could be requiring you to stand on a street corner with a clipboard and a questionnaire, or it could be that you would arrange for a group of people to come together and have a focus group and find out what they think about what your idea, your product, service is going to be. Also, basically finding out what makes these target customers tick. The more you know about them, what motivates them, their needs, their aspirations, their beliefs, things of this sort of nature, income levels, family status. The more you know about them, then the more information you can use to, in effect, find their nerve endings, so that when you do your promotional, you can tickle those nerve endings with the equivalent of a feather, which might be an advert on the website, or it might be a flyer or an advert in the newspaper, etc. Networking groups, if particularly you are dealing with business to business, networking groups can be a tremendous source of talking to people and also identifying perhaps some potential competition out there. So it's a key aspect. Know your customers. Know your customers.
Or you could do some test trading as well, just have a stand outside. If you're selling a product or something, then you can start trying to sell the product to the public and see if it's actually moving, what kind of feedback you get from the public, and then you can adjust your